let's get into it, guys. Let's start with rollouts, right? Because I think a lot of you guys are going through rollouts right now, have gone through rollouts. What are the pain points? What's your favorite part of it? What do you wish was easier and better? Um, Talk to me. What do you guys think? What rollouts have you seen working well? Throw something out there and let's get into it.
I can speak to that a little bit. And apologies, by the way, I am in a cafe, so I don't know if the background noise is coming
Right.
through.
Good.
But I have been working on the sort of extended rollout for a song that I put out last year. And part of the reason why it was extended is because I happened to be working with a producer where that relationship ended up not going so well. And so I was like right in the middle of the rollout. And then suddenly this personal thing happens in my life. And I'm like, oh no, I'm stressing out. I don't know what to do. And I was able to achieve as much as I could, but I'm also thinking about I feel like I've seen this a lot, especially on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn way too much, but a lot of music marketers will say, don't just put your song out once and expect that, it's going to go somewhere. Make sure you keep putting it out. And even for things like anniversaries, the 1 year anniversary of that single coming out is coming up. And I have this music video that I've already shot and I was really excited about, but I just had to put it aside for personal reasons. And I really want to challenge myself to, not feel like, oh, well, I released that song a year ago. There's no point in marketing it. Like, no, not at all. I want to take the opportunity to go, okay, this year anniversary is coming up. I want to challenge myself to put the music video out and, keep sharing the song and everything.
Yeah, amazing. I saw after the Grammys, someone on Instagram content that Chappell Roan had put out her song 7 years before winning that Grammy. And then Tyler the Creator is always going on camera saying that it's a new song to someone. So I just want to encourage you that your music, whether it's a year old or 5 years old, is new to someone. And again, it's your art. You found beauty in it and someone else will too. And keep pushing it if you believe in it. Yeah. Um, you brought up an interesting point. What do you do when a team member relationship goes south? Right? We've all worked with teams before. How do you manage that relationship when something's going funky?
I think the best thing ever that I always come to is just being really forthright. I've always just tried to, when working with people, especially like in music, where a lot of times you end up working with your friends or people who are really close with you who sometimes like they might not have been your friends and you became friends through music. You don't really know everything about this person. So it's like they can get in, it can situations can arise that can be really awkward. And I've had to like even recently talk to a friend and like let him know like, hey man, like because of things that are swirling around in your personal life right now, this could like affect this event or that we're putting on tonight. And like I don't want you to think I'm upset with you, but it's just I we can't let this happen and just be 100% forthright and business with it is I've had to look at it.
Yeah, I think honesty is always the best policy. Pete, I see your hand raised. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of piggyback on that, this is something definitely has happened to me in the past of just having to deal with collaborators that have maybe stained their name in some way or just kind of soured the relationship. One thing I've been pushing with artists that I work with is to just spend a little bit more time doing what I call human alignment, right? So what does that mean? That means just spending a little bit more time getting to know your collaborators. Just seeing if they truly align with you and your values. This is a situation that happened to me where I was really a fan of this artist. I really wanted to produce for them. Finally got to get into a room with them. Chemistry was pretty good. We cranked out a couple of projects and we're in the middle of releasing our first album together. And in the middle of that, some allegations started coming out about him, and that kind of ruined the idea for the rollout for the second project. And I pretty much had to go to him and be like, "Hey, man, there's some things that are coming up, and I can't really proceed to release this project because of X, Y, and Z. And it's not really my business to go and kind of like accuse you or find out what's real or not. But this is definitely affecting, the project, whether it's real or not. But yeah, I definitely just say try to spend more time aligning. I think with as creatives, you get into a studio, you meet somebody, it's really easy to just say, "Oh my God, let's create something," and all of a sudden you're creating, and you're not really spending a lot of time getting to know that person before you create. So that's my 2 cents.
I love that human alignment, Pete. I think that's so amazing. And I feel like there's a workshop session in there somewhere, so I'm gonna circle back with you on it.
Yeah, it's just has to do with my AI kind of studies. Just been studying language and AI, and a lot of what people talk about is like AI alignment. How can we align AI to be aligned with us? And I'm like, yeah, but we don't spend enough time aligning with other humans. So let's start there.
I love that. I love that so much. Um, Going back to rollouts, what's been working for you guys? You can just hop right in.
Okay. I think the best things is what it's like when you have a really strong visual idea to work around and having a lot of imagery and just visual things that you can use to break up and repost it goes a long way. Like if you can repeat a motif. So when I like put out my EP, my last EP, like it was we shot a music video at a horse farm and we like used that picture as like the cover for the EP, and then all of the photos from that shoot and from the days creating it and like things like that, we were able to space it out on social media. And it's not like I had like some gigantic splash, but it was like my best rollout. And so from like all of that, you can do a lot with it. Like if you have a lot of visual, like in images and videos, like you could turn all of that into cover art or like little pieces that have like your lyrics on it or ads on Meta and stuff like that too. So that's been really key. It's just making sure like the visuals are just as strong as the music.
Where'd you get the idea for the horse farm?
Um, just like I thought well, first we wanted to shoot at a cow farm, and the cow farm fell off. Like my friends somehow had like a cow farm, but his like dad said that it was like really muddy, so he couldn't use it. So I work for a real estate company and do marketing there. And one of the clients, I mean, one of the agents is sells horse farms. So I just messaged him and asked him if there was any farms we could shoot at. And yeah, and that's how we were able to come up on that location.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Um, I talk to a lot of artists about coming up with ideas for content for their rollouts, right? And I think one of probably the most common suggestion I give is to work with a content strategist, someone who can help come up with really good ideas. Um, because I think it's really hard, right? I think it's hard to come up with ideas that break through the noise and that speak to fans that are getting spoken to every day, all day on social media. So, where do you guys draw inspiration from when it comes to content ideas?
Um, when I want to make visuals for a song coming out, and how I go about like trying new strategies, it usually comes from inspiration of just seeing another up and coming artist that's doing really well on socials. Um, like I put out a song a couple months ago that I had a whole music video for, and I wanted to try Instagram ads for the first time, or like putting most of my attention into Instagram ads because I had seen that this group Punching Bag, they were they weren't really like posting a lot. They were just doing a select few videos, putting money behind it. And then because they were, you know, using keywords to target other music discovery platforms or other artists and stuff, they were able to like sort of kill two birds with one stone. They got the social impressions because it was paid, obviously, and then they got the attention of like a lot of those music discovery platforms. Like they got put on Kids Takeover, they got put on That Good Shit. They recently were featured on Pigeons and Planes. Um, each time I've ever dropped a song, I go really hard on my own. I have a big master contact list and I'll try and like reach out to get editorial placements or playlist placements via email, but I don't really ever hear back on like 90% of them. Um, so I thought that was a cool way. Like they just sort of killed the two birds with one stone by doing some paid ads. I didn't have like the same level of success that they did, but I did have some stuff come out of that. Right now, I have some songs coming out and a lot of my friends do too. And we're all looking at this kid Blasian, I think is his name. Blaxian. I don't know how he pronounces his name exactly, but he has a song that's popping off right now, and he's just doing like a lot of run and gun, but really high production type shoots around New York. Um, it can be like in front of Atlantic Barclays or in a hallway with some cool lighting. He's just looking like as clean and professional as he can, and he's just staying consistent with posting. So my take on it is like kind of just trying everything and seeing what lands. Nothing has really landed as much as I want it to yet, but like looking forward to leaning into it once it does happen.
I would love to jump in and just say, I don't know if you've heard of Groover, but I've been using them recently and they're incredibly helpful when it comes to connecting with folks who might want to put you on a playlist or do a feature. And um, it's it's kind of like Submit Hub, but I don't know if you use that as well, but I've had a better experience with Groover, and I find that it's much easier than like going and emailing individual people. So might be worth looking into. It's definitely a reasonable cost as well. But also just wanted to share in terms of where I get my ideas. A lot of times I try to put on my music fan hat instead of my artist hat, and I think about what kinds of artists am I really intrigued by? What gets me interested in an artist? And a lot of times that is vulnerability for me. So I can't remember the name of this artist at the moment, but there's a woman who had gone through a really messy breakup and it went viral when she posted about it. She's a musician, and so of course she's processing this through music, but she's giving all of like the nitty-gritty details on how she's feeling, like giving updates about like how she's healing from her breakup and then what kinds of music she's writing. And that just drew me right in, especially as someone who happened to be going through a breakup at the time. And I just think that that level of just keeping it real, and turning it into music that feels so resonant to so many people is really powerful. And so I sometimes have trouble being vulnerable online. I'm sort of dipping my toe in over and over again, even on, places like LinkedIn, but also Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. And so I'm constantly trying to put myself in a place of, a lot of times to build trust with people, you have to be vulnerable, to a certain degree. And so that's something I'm trying to get better at.
And Via, not to put you on the spot, but your humility is coming through. Via is an incredible copywriter. She has done copywriting for CD Baby and a few other people. Strongly suggest working with her too if you need help with some captions. Let's talk about captions for a second because I think that gets overlooked when it comes to content, but it's the easiest way to get your messaging across because if someone's busy and they can't listen to your video, they can read the caption that you've put with it. And I know back in the day, Instagram algorithm favored short captions, short and sweet with some emojis, and now it seems to be longer and allows you to go a bit more in depth with the caption. Um, Via, can you give us some pointers when it comes to copywriting for socials?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I could go on all day about this. Um, but yeah, I think that it is really interesting especially when you're an artist, posting across multiple platforms. I mean, first of all, every platform is so different, but then also types of posts are so different. Like I definitely approach Instagram stories differently than I do a reel or a feed post and all of that. And I think the key is across all of it is, again, how do you draw people into your story and what you're really passionate about and what's on your mind? I think that that is a theme that kind of runs through a lot of our favorite artists and folks that we listen to. It certainly does for me. But instead of saying like, hey, go stream my song, or telling somebody to do something, saying like, I'm really proud of this piece, for instance, and this is why, and I'm really excited about it because X, Y, Z, and I'm doing this show and this kind of stuff. Like, thinking about inviting people rather than like telling them what to do. Especially in an era where we're all being marketed to all of the time and it can be really exhausting. I actually will do a little bit of digging because there's an artist that I'm thinking of that does this super well that I've been into recently, and I'll share a link in the chat. But I think he does copywriting specifically really well, and also just like captions on posts and all those types of things.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love the idea of bringing one, looking at things from a fan's perspective and inviting them into your journey. And I don't often see artists saying, like, this is the one you should pay attention to. Like we see artists saying, oh, this is my new music, go stream it. I love this song. This is the vibe of the song. But not like, hey, this moment in particular is really special to me. I need you guys to connect with me because I've put my heart and soul here. This one matters. Don't overlook it. And I think that vulnerability really stands out, right? If this is a standout track for you and you want people to pay extra attention, say that. Let people know that. Um, have any of the artists in the room, how was your experience been with writing captions and grabbing the attention of your fans on your content?
I find definitely like what you're saying, yeah, like the more personal, like definite, the more connection there is. And it's just like I feel like everyone, all of my audience and my followers are people that, they're my friends, like over time that I've met. It's like it's so interesting. Like, you can go somewhere, play a show, and like you might get like 10 followers from the show or something, but these are all people that like I remember hanging out with and doing things. So like they're like kind of they get hyped on the legend of it all, right? So whenever I've tried to just always be really like honest and like just be like really like normal in my captions, not like try to be like I don't want to be mysterious. Um yeah, so there are times when I thought that was bad, but it is like really because you see like all the mysterious people are the ones that are always kind of popping off, but it's like it feels really good to hear you guys reinforcing that it's like good to be yourself and just nice. I don't know.
Yeah, authenticity is key, I think. Are there any marketers in the room that want to add into the conversation or what's worked for them and the artists they've worked with? If not, it's okay. I know, Ravon, you had unmuted. Did you want to add something?
I was just gonna say that like I honestly really kind of struggle with the concept of being so vulnerable on social upfront. Um, I'm easily able to do it as like a person, but when I'm presenting myself a bit as a musician, I just want to make like cool fucking shit that like is visually pleasing. Like my favorite artists, when I discover them, they don't necessarily lean so heavy into being a person at first. Like they're almost like movie characters or cartoon characters to me. And then once I get more into like the world that they build is when I then seek out the areas that they're vulnerable, which is like when I deep dive into their lyrics or like watch the documentary that's on their YouTube or go to their concert in person. I don't know if anyone feels that way, like, because like, I don't know. I make rap music. I feel like so many rappers of my favorite rappers, they're just such characters. They're not like the first thing I'm seeing of them is not like them talking about a breakup. It's just like the video or the album, and then I deep dive into what they do. So I kind of struggle with that personally. Like I've tried to do like the oh, this is where I'm at in my life, long-winded spiel, and then like building up to a song dropping.
Mm.
I kind of just prefer to just drop the song with the crazy visuals that no one has ever seen something like before and then follow up with it. I don't know.
I hear you. And I don't think that there's one right way to do anything. Like, as you were talking about that, it reminded me of this artist, Molly Yam, that I've been really into recently. And I think he does a really good job at exactly what you're saying. Like, there isn't really a story that he's sharing. He's sharing these really compelling visuals along with just bangers. And sometimes that works, you know, and I actually have seen him grow from just like a couple hundred followers now. I forget how many. Yeah, he's almost 10,000 followers now. Actually, he's growing really fast. And I think part of the reason is because of his really intriguing visual style. And I actually ended up doing like a mini cover of one of his songs recently just because it was just an earworm and I wanted to put my spin on it. And so, you know, that's a form of engagement where it's not necessarily based on vulnerability. And so even though that's how I end up finding a lot of artists that I love, it's certainly not the only way.
Have you guys ever asked your fans what they want to see from you?
I mean, I have, but like honestly, my fan base is so diversified that like they all kind of give me different answers on what they're looking for.
It's hard to figure it out.
Yeah.
The beauty is you have a long career in front of you, so you can try out new things. Does anyone else want to add thoughts to the content conversation before we switch over to hiring a team and roles?
I do.
Go ahead, Carly.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carly, and I have had the pleasure of managing the amazing artist named Cameron Levert for the last 4 years. And I specifically work with Cameron on content. And something that I have watched do really well specifically for Cameron was we knew that we were going in to film a music video, but I knew photographer for a certain amount of hours. And so I wanted to do some covers with Cameron. So what we did is we took to her story and we kind of offered, what do you guys want to hear? Here we kind of like steered them in the R&B direction and gave them a few to choose from. So all four were available for like people to kind of choose from. We kind of seen where the attention was and we followed in with two. So it was kind of like I was able to film that content the same time as the music video with just different outfits. So I was able to get a music video and two covers in one day, which then I was able to come back and sit with to make a full, rollout with. So once we were able to roll the music video out, I knew that I had content after to load into as well. So I think sometimes focusing on one piece of content is amazing. You want to make sure that it comes out great, but then also what are you going to follow up with or what can you tie that with? And so that's something that I've really worked with Cameron on, and I take pride in the consistency of her socials is because we are one step ahead of what's getting posted now. And I think that's fun. And then also a piece of advice that I was given when I was in chats with, friends that work at one of the smaller labels is that having different content on your socials is super beneficial. Now, different content could look at what are some hobbies that you like and maybe kind of introducing that into your fan base on TikTok since that's more of a FaceTime style content. And then having your professionally shot covers maybe over on Instagram if it performs better, but almost having not different personalities, but different peeks into your life on different social media platforms. So then you're building your audience across platforms and not just on one specific platform. So now you have a YouTube follower who is watching your full length videos because they love them, but then you have someone over on TikTok because they love that you paint. And then they know to go to your Instagram to find when your next music's coming out and hopefully joining your channel and all that fun stuff. So it's really just trial by error. We weren't doing this year one with Cameron. It took those 4 years to really be able to build up with her and an amazing team around her. So one step at a time is so important. And then soon you'll look back and you're like, wow, this is now what all I have. So it's little pieces into the pot that's going to really make your soup really good.
Thank you, Carly. Carly is awesome. She's a fantastic music marketer, content manager. I might be biased because she's on my team, but I know firsthand that she is phenomenal. Um, so I have a question for you guys. If you had, if someone handed you $1,000, or let's say $2,500, let's be 2025 about it. Inflation, right? Let's say someone handed you $2,500 as an artist. Where would you put that money towards?
Content,
What part of content?
like videography and well, like yeah, videography and just strategy.
Yeah, so a strategist and content creation.
Mhm.
So to shoot the videos and chop them up, I imagine, into short form, long form. What about the rest of you guys? What would you do at $2,500?
Personally, I know this is like an unconventional answer, but I would put it towards rent so that I can keep doing what I do because I don't have a job. I try and make music full time by doing like freelance stuff. I taught myself graphic design and video the past couple years so that I wouldn't have to pay other people to do it. I'm currently trying to teach myself how to engineer so I don't also have to like a lot of my expenses, I guess, come from like getting shit mixed and mastered. So, outside of maybe more like paid ads, I would take the first 1,000 definitely like without question and put it towards rent for the next month. So I have like another month that I can continue just doing what I do, making music, making my own videos, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's really important. If you ever get into a hole, music cares, and I believe Backline give grants to music creators and professionals for that reason, because God knows how hard it is to
But it was Music Cares and what was the second one?
and Backline.
Cool. Thank you. I'm gonna check those out.
Yeah. Um, yeah. What else? Where else would you guys put that money towards?
I would maybe invest in some sort of product that we could have a return on. So maybe some merch if merch has not been launched. So investing that into something that you could see a profit return on.
That's a really smart idea, Carly. Yeah, I ask because there's someone very special as part of our community that is working on setting up grants for the artists through B.A.K. And I was curious to know what you guys would use it for, right? We had a discussion on maybe should we use it for equipment or life expenses or advertising. So it's just nice to know where you guys have a real need and how we as a community can support you. So thank you for answering that. Um, when it comes to hiring a team, what do you guys find difficult? What team members do you think is most important? How are you guys feeling about that? Okay, I'll kick off. So a lot of you guys ask for a manager from me, right? So when I talk to, so when an artist distributes the Music Man, they get me on the other end of the phone as an account manager, and we have a consultation. And I always ask, what do you need? Where are you in your journey? And what kind of support do you need? And management is top three. Publicist always being number one, content creation being number two, and manager being number three. So when it comes to management, I have a lot of thoughts on what's needed, what is it really beneficial? But I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you look for in a manager in 2025? What are the deliverables that you would say, oh, they're doing a good job for me?
To me, it would be just like having a partner that is not involved in the art, but that cares about the music. Well, they're involved, but they're not involved in the creation of the art, but they care about it as much as I do. And they care about the business. Like, it's like, it would be someone who, in their, I'm sorry if it's really windy, in their spare time, like in the way that I would be making music, they would be scheming up ideas to take the music further.
And do you think that, because traditionally, right, managers get a percentage of music that comes in, but from a developing artist standpoint, where
Mhm.
money might not be on the horizon, where you're putting out a lot more money than you're getting back in, what is the manager's expectation, right? Should they expect to get paid a monthly stipend? Or do you feel like having someone committed, kind of old school, is still the way to go?
That's a really good question. I think when it comes to managers, especially nowadays, since there's so many like independent artists, I think the committal factor is a little bit more valuable. Especially like looking back in the early 2000s when like producers like Timbaland and Pharrell would build up artists and then they would have like a plethora. So in terms of a manager to like build up an artist in that way, I think that would be very valuable. Um, I think if you're already like monetizing as an artist, though, it's fair for the manager to ask for a certain percentage. I don't really know too much about what that would be fair wise based on your like ROI and stuff. But I think the building with the artist as a manager, like seeing where they're at and being like, all right, we're like if you live in a city, the manager could be like, all right, we're gonna do a tri-state area of like 3 shows, try to get you these 3 shows in like each city, like by the end of the year, something like that, something that you could work towards. I think would be valuable. So that's my take.
Thank you. So having someone to have real short-term deliverables is something that's important, right? Like something tangible that you can say, okay, I know you're working on this, versus someone who might be more of a consultant to just kind of give you ideas and guide you. You want tangible results. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So one of the things I've been hearing about, an idea that's been toyed around, is the idea of managers getting a percentage of artist royalties, right? And I wanted to ask you guys how you felt about that. Explaining a little further, essentially, instead of getting paid up front, a manager becomes more invested in your music because they get a percentage into your master's royalties, right? That way you know you're not getting paid for shows right now. You know you're not selling merch. There is no income coming in. So you're going to ask someone to commit to being a manager, but how long are they going to commit for if there is no ROI on their work, right? It could take years. And the average artist, I think Dan Runcie, who runs the Trapital podcast, said 2 years ago that the average artist is making $45,000 a year. I don't know many emerging artists that are making that much money. Um, and even if they were making that much money, it's still not a lot of money. And if you think about 20% of that, it's about 8.5 grand a year for a manager. Managers can't live off of that. So what is the realistic expectation for an artist when it comes to working with management and management getting paid? So this alternative of managers taking a percentage of streaming has really come to light and surfaced, and artists are kind of going down this route. But then do you give a percentage just to the music they're working on? Is it lifetime? So there's still kind of these details thing that artists, managers are trying to figure out. But I'd love to hear from you guys how you just initially feel about the idea of giving a manager a percent of your royalties versus them committing to you essentially for free for we don't know how long before you start monetizing. Does it feel good or does it feel a little scary?
I mean, as someone who has not really made any real money off of music, it seems like an easy yes to me because I haven't been able to see like what the return on royalties would even look like.
Mm.
And I guess also if it was leaning toward, I honestly wish I could give like royalty percentages to all of the people that I work with in exchange for upfront pay. Because then it, like you said, it's like a dope way to see that someone is actually invested in your success. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I said it before, I spend a bunch of money on mixing and mastering. I kind of wish it'd be like, yo, brother, I'll give you that 10%. Like you gotta have that faith in me if you're down. But yeah, I think royalty percentage would be a real way to, put trust into the artist management relationship. Maybe if there was like for every 10% of royalty, 5% is chipped off of direct, like that 20% that managers take, I guess. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Maybe there's some back and forth there, but I don't
Like
know.
a sliding scale
Yeah.
kind of a thing. Yeah, these are the little details that I think the industry has to figure out what's fair and what's not fair. But I'd love artists to lead the charge here on what you guys are most comfortable with, right? I want to know what you guys feel like is a fair deal or not. And as far as paying other people on your team, that's the Indify model. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Indify, but they give out investments to artists. They connect artists with investors and like really incredible marketers who will take a percentage of your royalties in exchange for payment up front. And these marketers are committed to the success of the song because the more the music streams, the more they're going to get paid. And again, there is no upfront payment, so it kind of works out for them. And it only works for a certain level of artists. You have to know that, you're going to stream well. So they look for artists that have a proven track record. It's not so much for very early stage artists, but I do like the concept. And I know, Dora, I'm gonna put you on the spot because you're an artist manager. Have you ever been approached with receiving royalties instead of payment?
Hi. Hi everyone. Um, so when approached by who, artists or
Yeah,
um I think all of the conversations that I've had with artists have always been in the quote unquote traditional setup. So that would be the standard 20% royalty. Sometimes when I work with an artist who is developing but have already started putting music out and have a catalog but not making meaningful income, I would suggest that I, as management, we commission on the music that we work on. So starting from the time we work together on a campaign, so I wouldn't be commissioning on the previous catalog. Um, it could be for a period of time, or it could be with certain terms included. For example, if we mutually agree to remarket their previous catalog, then, then we would end up commissioning on it as management. But yes, I think there are different routes being explored as the industry changes quite a bit. And it's no longer the case where you take an artist into a label, you get an advance, you live, for a year and work for a year on that. It's yeah, it's very, I think it's a lot more volatile these days. So yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting to
Thank
hear
you.
what people are comfortable with these days.
Yeah, thank you. So, traditional still as like the primary option, but then maybe having this royalty percentage as a backup option for artists that aren't monetizing so much upfront.
Yeah, for me it's always been the traditional to date. Unless For example, as a manager, if you get hired by another company to come on board as a day-to-day or an assistant, where we call it, I guess more so day-to-day, where you get a monthly salary. And that's for projects that obviously have been that are able to create like an additional salary for someone. In that case, you obviously are paid a certain amount every month. And but you don't necessarily get commission. It can also change over time, so you can add on a percentage split on top of that if you manage to agree. So that would be salary plus commission as well. Um, but yeah, that's obviously when the artist can afford, or the management company across multiple clients can afford to hire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's been across the board, changing and being a lot more fluid, with people and relationships. Also, sometimes artists can half self-manage, and you maybe don't take on full percentages, or you could be co-managing it with someone else, and you agree that you either do half, just sort of, 10% for one manager, 10% for another, or, whatever you feel is fair. Um, yeah, there's just so many different ways to set this up. You can also, I guess, like depending on the management company or where the company comes from, if they have if they're able to invest into your career uh as from like a record label perspective, then they could be earning royalties on your catalog, as well as a management commission, provided there is, prior investment into a project, or, they pick you up as like a developing artist. But yeah, it really sort of depends. I think, yeah, you can always ask and have an open conversation about it.
Yeah, thank you. So there are different ways to bring on a manager is what I'm hearing, right? So there is this commission level, like the traditional model, it's you're taking a percentage of streams, maybe you're co-managing. If you're bringing in enough money, you can pay a salary up front. All of these, I love that there are now options though. And I think that's really the key here is that there are options when you're looking for management or looking for team members. There's payment options. And I know a lot of you guys need that. So I hope you're encouraged to know that there are professionals accepting these kind of different ways of going about things.
Have you
Um,
seen anything on because I know you said that the top three things people look for are managers, content strategists, and publicists.
mhm.
Have you seen any examples of publicists being down to take percentages? Because the only conversations that I've had with publicists, they expect a lot of pay up front for stuff. And it's like, I'll have these long-winded conversations, but it's like, no, I don't have 2 grand to pay you right now to do some rollout stuff for me. You know
Yeah,
what
I can't talk for every publicist. I will say I started my career as a publicist. So in my heart of hearts, there's a love for PR that I really appreciate. And I think COVID really damaged the publicity department across the board in music for many reasons. Many writers were laid off. It kind of started with the blog era, I think, and professionals feel free to chime in here. But for me, when the blog era hit, um, you were getting written up for free, right? Like you didn't have to go try and find Billboard or Variety or Ebony Magazine or Jet Magazine. You can go to bloggers, which I think in comparison to today's world are like that good shit Diabolical Discs, right? Those are kind of the new era of the bloggers. So you didn't have to go through a publicist to get to them if you knew who they were. So that kind of damaged press a little bit, and then COVID hit, and a lot of writers were laid off, or the publications were more focused on advertising. So a lot of these blogs that were picked up by bigger media conglomerates went under because they weren't making anything from ads, and it became really, really difficult to pitch. Like significant, it's why I left doing PR after COVID, because it was always like pay to play, and it got really hard. And publicists work a lot. Like they are, besides managers, I think some of the hardest working people in music. So it is very difficult. You can't guarantee your return. And that's why I think publicists won't accept a percentage, most of them, because you just don't know if you're going to be able to land something. And like it just becomes very, very difficult. So they work really hard and they want to get paid up front. So in that case, I understand publicists getting paid. But I also think that you shouldn't look for a publicist until you have something to publicize, meaning not just new music. That's not something to publicize. If you have a full campaign and you're doing something really unique, and people need to know that, wow, like they went about this really differently. This is a talking point. Or they've amassed 10 million listeners a month. Look at this new artist, right? Or there's a movement behind them, or Ravon has this monthly showcase in Bushwick that he's pulling out 500 people a month for. Like, who is this kid? There is this exciting talking point. Then you might need a publicist to make sure that people are aware of what you have going on. But if you're still in the stage of just newly releasing music and building fans, you don't need a publicist. You need, in my opinion, this is my opinion, Carly, feel free to jump in here too. I think advertising money is really important to spread your content around. Content creation and strategy is another really smart investment. Those two things for me are the two first things that any brand new artist should be investing in. And then also, Ravon, to your point, learning new skills, right? As a business owner, I have learned like the Playground platform. I don't have a tech background. I had to learn how to create that. I had to learn content creation on Canva. I've had to learn Zapier and MailChimp and all of these different things. As music artists, you guys are also business owners. So the requirement to learn new skills is there. And I love that you're doing that because it will save you a lot of money in the long run.
Also,
Thank
just to quickly mention, like from a management point of view, wouldn't want to give out any percentage to a publicist because, it could be that they achieve a couple of pieces, coverage here and there, but that doesn't, it couldn't, the platform that you get from it or the visibility you get from it might not really be, worth the percentage. It might not translate completely. So you could end up paying them out a fair amount. And maybe the streams weren't coming from that one Pitchfork article. They were coming from your content, or your algorithm that you've built up. So yeah, I would probably not.
Yeah, I think that's a really strong point too. What is the ROI of a press placement these days, right? Is it worth the 10%, 5% you might give up in your streaming money? If that single takes off, this publicist might be getting paid a heck of a lot of money for, to Dora's point, a couple of articles that might not have had anything to do with its success. So from an artist standpoint, that's probably not a smart decision. So Dora, thank you, because I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I know we're at time, but does anyone have one more question or anything they want to talk about before we wrap?
Yeah, I just had a quick question going back to the beginning of the conversation about release rollout. I just wanted to hear some people's opinions about um building up a single like putting a lot of energy into releasing one single, visuals, a show around it, yada yada yada, versus just kind of like releasing more music as if it is that sort of same like social content. Like, because they're saying, oh, let's do daily social content, but if that's for one song, that can be like 30 posts for one song. If you're dropping one song a month, can be kind of a lot for an artist to take on. That's also then only what 12 songs for 1 year being dropped if you're to do a song a month versus like really leaning into dropping a lot of music as the content.
Hmm. I have some thoughts, but what do you guys think?
I think sometimes the numbers are aspirational. I don't know. Like I know you like I do think it's important to put out 30 pieces. Like I've actually heard that number a lot, but like one song a month, I feel like I don't know. Like maybe I'm wrong. I'm not trying to, but I think that it's just more about like what it is than how much it is. And but that's just my opinion. I don't know.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it depends on, I don't know, if you enjoy just putting stuff out. There's a lot of case studies, or not case studies, but a lot of examples for artists who just were, putting stuff out fluidly, frequently, and building a platform and a following there, across, different genres. Just putting stuff on YouTube back in the YouTube era. Or I don't know, it just depends. I think if you've got a single that has a very specific, intricate narrative, and you feel like it's important how it's communicated together with visuals, then it's worth exploring and really unpacking that. But sometimes, it can also work for artists to just, put a project out, move on to the next, put a project out, move on to the next. It kind of just depends on the music, and if you have that kind of appetite to just, pop stuff out basically and have fun with it.
Yeah, you have to have fun with it, right? Because how many times have we seen artists put content out that's so inauthentic? And like we can
Yeah.
tell that it's forced. Like they're not having fun. They absolutely hate doing this. They're copying and pasting from Canva because someone told them that they have to do that. And I think that hurts you more than helps you as an artist. Um, and I think quality is more important than quantity. But there are ways to achieve quantity that doesn't have to be boring and it can be fun. I think, Ravon, you strike me as someone who might like skateboarding, right? Around Bushwick. Like maybe you go to a skate park and you video yourself and your music's in the background. Maybe one day you're sitting at a coffee shop and you're talking about the inspiration that came from a certain lyric. Maybe you're getting your hair braided and you're talking about like your artist journey and how you first got into music while your hair is getting braided. So you're tying in your culture, right? And who you are as a person, your own personal culture to your music, and you're bringing your music to life based on your day-to-day life. Like you're putting your music in the atmosphere in which you want your artist to listen to it. And I think that's more important than something on Canva. That's a really cool graphic. So be experimental, um, but don't force it. That's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, the current landscape, it really sort of like people can feel when you're just having fun and you can connect and like your own platform. Some people are very good with Instagram and the gallery style posting and making it perfect, and some people just find it a lot easier to pick up a TikTok and just, pop it out, and it's more native to them. Yeah, I think just whatever feels good, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think on that note, I feel really good about today's call. Thank you guys for joining me, spending time eating lunch with me. I scarfed down some avocado toast right before this. I appreciate you. Um, just having a moment and sharing energy with me. I hope it was helpful. You guys, we're gonna do this every month. Stay tuned. Drop me some questions you want to consider for the next call. What should it be about? Let's figure it out together and keep creating space for each other.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye bye.